All right, welcome back. It's the Ultimate Homeschool Community Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Hernandez. Today I am out of my studio, as you can see, here in local town, so I can get decent internet. You know how that works. Internet is always a challenge. So we have all of our authors here with us, as you can see from our new book, which we are so excited to share with you, Education Unleashed. And more is going to be coming out about how you can get your own copy. And we will share in the links below where you can get that. I want to give a huge round of applause to all of our authors because this was no easy feat. There was a lot of discussion about what it is that we truly cared about, how we were going to share these things that we hold so near and dear to our heart. And education is just a part of us. This is a heart-centered, heart-to-heart industry, and we are so excited to share with you a little bit about where their thoughts are on the book. So we're going to do a quick introduction of everyone. And the first we have up is Tanya.
Hi, my name is Tanya Kai. I'm a former public school teacher turned to micro school founder and leader, and I wrote a chapter to help founders and teachers learn about how to create lessons that are driven towards students and creating their independence.
All right. Next we have Shadima.
Hi, I'm Chidima Ibe, a former teacher turned micro school founder. I wrote my chapter for teachers who feel overwhelmed and are seeking student-centered, project-based learning approaches.
Awesome. Okay, and then next we have Sean.
Hey everybody. My name's Sean. I'm the founder of Isla Academy. We are the largest independent micro school network in the Dominican Republic. We have campuses across the country. We serve nearly 400 students from over 40 different countries, and we've been doing this now for over a decade.
All right, next we have Christina.
Hi, I'm Chris Santoro. I'm an accidental micro school leader, founded two in two different countries. And I wrote my chapter because I stumbled my way through everything. And I thought, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to give somebody else access to these resources and some new ideas so they don't have to stumble their way through it too.
Amen. Next we have Brandy.
Hi, I'm Brandy. I'm a former public school teacher and private school administrator turned educational consultant and micro school founder. I wrote my chapter for teachers and to let you know that you can educate neurodivergent students too in your micro school. It is possible. So I give a lot of tips on how to make everything a lot of fun and engaging.
Okay, next we have Jennifer.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Wolverton. I am the founder of the Micro Collective for AI, Robotics, and the Sciences. We're a micro school starting in Huntsville, Alabama. We love all things cutting edge technology, and I wrote my chapter for parents because it's a scary time while we're all entering this AI age, and we've spent the last 15 years in my house experimenting on all these cutting edge technology tools, and now we're bringing them into the micro school world.
Yes. All right, next we have Denise.
Hi, I'm Denise Lever, founder of Baker Creek Academy and Trailblaze Ed, and I wrote my chapter for founders, those who feel a tug to do school differently but haven't found a map yet that fits. And my hope is to give them courage and clarity to take the first steps, even if they don't have all the answers yet.
Yes. All right, next we have Jessica.
Hey, I'm Jessica Glosson. I am the founder of Harvest Educational Services, a former public school teacher for 14 years. And my chapter is written for families that are looking for something different for their children.
Awesome. Yes. Caitlin.
Hello, I am Caitlin Wilder. I'm a behavior analyst and a former public school teacher, and I'm the founder of Wildside Behavior, and I help schools better serve diverse learners. And I wrote a chapter for founders, so they will know the power that they have to make change for themselves.
Yes. Next, we have Lauren.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Wood. I am a former teacher and administrator turned micro school founder. I'm the founder of Elevated Purpose Learning Community in Central Florida. And I wrote my chapter because throughout this process, I felt like I cannot be the only one experiencing this. And I was right.
Yes, amen to that. Next, we have Mary.
Hello, my name is Mary Rice Booth. I'm the founder of Think 360 Academy, a micro school opening in Central Texas. I've been a former teacher, principal, district leader, but the most important job I have is as a parent. My chapter is about how, as a parent, you become an advocate for your child and how being part of a micro school may be an answer that you've been looking for.
Yes. And last but not least, we have Rena.
Hello, my name is Rena Harris. I'm a mom of 7, a former software and web developer and Montessori teacher turned founder of Harris Academy here in Gilbert, Arizona for 5 years now. And my chapter is for educators who may be looking for a change, fresh ideas maybe in curriculum development, and also if you're just curious about how that works in a micro school setting.
Awesome. Yes. And I am so grateful that we have such a diverse group to share about this movement because it really is for everyone. What we have seen is that it doesn't matter which way you slice or dice it, there is a way that education can get brought out of a system that maybe wasn't working very well into a system that every child can thrive. We have a few questions that we're going to be going over. Our first segment is about teachers who reimagined their role. And so I wanted to pull up a few of our educators talking to our teachers and our educators and those who are in the classroom looking to really think about, well, what could be next? The prompt for this is, what was the moment you realized teaching in a traditional system no longer worked for you? And how did that moment lead to something new? I'd like to pull Tanya up and ask you that question.
It was a combination of feeling like the system was putting us in like cookie cutters. And so like everything down the hallway in the grade level had to be the same exact thing going on. And also with my son, he had an IEP. And once he left me in elementary school and went to middle school and high school, his accommodations were not being met, which also led me to see that my former students were also having those struggles and getting their elective classes taken away. And that's really not fair. So that's part of the reason why we started our micro school and why we are really focused on individualized experiences for the kids.
Yes, it's so important, especially when you feel like your kid isn't getting their needs met. And Rena, I know you have a totally different experience, but I'd love for you to share as well.
Okay, so my background's a little bit different than Tanya. I've come from a Montessori background in teaching and homeschooling before that. And so I was already exposed to a non-traditional way of education. But, when online learning kicked in during the COVID shutdown, my kids just kind of were home, and I didn't want pandemic restrictions to dictate how we did school. And once they were home with me, I started supplementing, and I just found that joy of learning that just kind of prop up back in their faces. And I wanted to keep that going. And so at that moment, I just knew I'm like, I need to find a different, an alternative form of education for all their kids. And so that's kind of how I, took the leap into micro schooling. I found Prenda Micro Schools, and they gave me the tools and guidance to and so here I
I love it. And I like the juxtaposition because we didn't all come from a traditional school setting. I myself was homeschooling my kids and found this movement because I wanted more for them. I wanted community. The second segment we have is about founders who took the leap. And I the prompt for this is, what was your first bold move when starting your micro school? And what mindset shift helped you take that leap? I'd like to bring Sean up to share that.
Hey, okay. I think the first bold move was in recognizing that what I knew could work in a kindergarten classroom and an elementary classroom, there were structures that could also work in a secondary classroom. I had done that myself as a teacher. And so as we were in the early stages of growth and development at my school, having common structures, even though we were a very small school at the time, allowed us to collaborate. Even if a teacher was working in sciences with the upper age students, or in math in the younger groups, there were a lot of common terminology, a lot of common structures that we could use that I think allowed us to grow in ways that are really set the table for where we are today.
Right. I agree. We don't really think about, early education and how it still applies later down in, in the upper grade levels. So I love that. And then I also want to bring in Lauren. Can you answer this as well? What was your first bold move when starting your micro school, and what mindset shift helped you take that leap? Because you have a great chapter about this.
Absolutely. So for me, I got into micro schooling after months and months and months of applying for positions in the traditional education system, and obviously did not work. So my first bold move was actually um, applying for a micro school. Oh gosh, I am so sorry, Tiffany.
You're
The
fine.
nerves are kicking in just a little bit.
You're fine,
Uh,
girl.
Okay, so I took my first bold move of applying for a fellowship program for micro
Right.
schools, and I just had an absolute blast doing it. Really learning about micro schooling as a alternative to traditional education, but also myself. And unfortunately, that fellowship did not work out. However, I took another bold move. Bam, and I actually went on and sought out a way to get into microschooling on my own, and found, just like Grenna, I found Prenda and haven't looked back. I've been happy ever since.
Good. Yeah, sometimes it takes that shift to really see, like, oh, I just needed to pivot and it really wasn't that. I can do this, right? Okay, so we're going to move into segment 3, which is all about parents advocating for their children, which I think most of us are parents here, and this is really what propelled us into this movement to begin with. The question for this is, what pushed you to search for something different for your child? And what transformation have you witnessed since making that choice? And I'd love to bring up Jessica to answer this one.
Yeah, so for me, it really started in my classroom. I was a classroom teacher for a long time, and I just poured everything into my classroom. And I watched continually my students just struggle more and more with anxiety and disconnection and burnout. And I started looking more closely, and my own kids were facing those things too. And so I just really started taking into consideration how much of myself I was pouring into my students, and then how much I didn't have left for my own children at the end of the day, and how much more they needed me facing all of these things, and decided that we needed to make a change. My kids needed me at home, and I wasn't able to give them what they needed. I mean, they didn't have bad teachers. We loved their teachers. They weren't doing poorly academically in school. A lot of people think that that's why homeschoolers are pulled out or micro schools are happening. And, my kids weren't facing that. It was just this anxiety, disconnection, burnout that was happening. So since making the shift, we're just getting started. This is our first summer after leaving public school, so we're gearing up to go into our first year of micro schooling, and my boys are just so excited. They are ready to jump into all of our new learning experiences that we're going to have, being able to focus on things that they love to do instead of kind of, I think somebody mentioned it earlier, everybody down the hallway is having to do the same exact thing. So getting out of that.
Yes, amen to that. It always like lights you up inside when your children are actually excited to learn and it's not drudgery and again, I have to go do this thing, right? Mary, can you share what pushed you to search for something different for your child and what transformation you witnessed since making that choice?
Yeah. And so for me, it was somebody who, like many of us, I knew how to navigate the education system very well. I knew all the questions to ask. I know that, but recognizing the kind of the limitations that our school system had and really being able to provide the needs that my son had, who was recently diagnosed with autism, and I knew that he wasn't going to be able to get it, and that he was somebody who loved school. Like me, it really saddened me to see how much he would dislike school and how much he was so sad about going to school every day. And so being able to kind of give him and have him have much more autonomy of his day-to-day experience, what he was learning, how he was learning it. It was just he was transformed in regards to kind of how his relationship with school and how his relationship with learning is. And it's been, night and day in regards to kind of how he sees schools and how he sees the opportunity for him moving forward.
Amen. Yes. It's amazing when we see that shift change and their whole demeanor just like opens up and they actually get excited and they're not stressed. We're going to move to our roundtable reflections, and this is really where we're just going to be talking back and forth with some of the authors about a few different questions. The first question that we have is, what did you discover about yourself while writing your chapter? And I'd love to bring Shadima up to share because we worked really good on your chapter, and it's been such a pleasure just watching it blossom, and I'm so excited for everybody to read it.
Wow. So there's been many things I've learned about myself. I mean, I've been able to reflect on my experience as a teacher and why I came into this profession and why I love teaching, right? But despite that love of teaching, being in a classroom environment, um, almost um, almost made me discouraged. And I started to, as I'm writing, I started to see the weight that I carried. And now this is the opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to um to help kids and to provide a safe and welcoming environment for students to learn another alternative learning space for them. So
Yes.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's amazing when we take that minute to reflect and like, wow, I didn't even realize I was carrying that with me into this new space that I'm working on. Um, the next person I'd love to bring up to answer this question is Brandy. Brandy, can you share what did you discover about yourself while writing your chapter?
Sure. So I'm neurodivergent myself, and in school, it was really, really tough growing up. Being an ADHD girl, I had that spunky personality with leadership capabilities. Um, and so while I was reading this, I always tell my students, you can do hard things, you can do things you didn't think you could do. And I really thought, and I was like, wow, I'm doing it. Not only am I telling my students they can, I'm living it for them in this moment, which not a lot of people can say that. I'm a champion for people with disabilities. I'm a champion for all students, not just for students with disabilities. And micro schools give us that opportunity that not all one size fits all, and that's okay. And that's the biggest thing I learned is that we are the champions of education. We are the new movement. And it's kind of awesome.
Yes, yes. As an ADHDer, I think we have several that are on that spectrum coming into this space. We're like pushing the limits, showing each other that we are capable, encouraging each other is just, it's been incredible. The next question I have is, what would you say to someone who feels stuck but isn't sure they're qualified to try something different? And I'd love to bring Caitlin up to answer that question. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you say the question again?
The question was, what would you say to someone who feels stuck but isn't sure they're qualified to try something different?
Oh, well, that wasn't the question we talked about first. That's why I needed to hear it again.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I
'Cause I
got you
love
caught
that
off
question.
guard.
I love that question even more. My time in public education had me pretty brainwashed into only thinking that I could do like certain things certain ways. And what really brought me into all this, and what I love about micro schools and what I love about being an entrepreneur, is it is whatever you want. Like, guys, everything is made up. And we're like, time is not real. Like, do crazy things. If it makes you nervous, those are actually the things you really should be doing. So we just kind of go backwards. And I love taking all of that knowledge and experience, and I put, that's basically what my chapter is about as well. So
Yes.
enjoy.
Yes. And yes, you have to read Caitlin's chapter because being from the circus, like it's in there. You gotta read it. She did a whole bunch of shifting. Chris, I'd love to bring you up to answer this question as well.
Sure. So I have to agree with everybody. I think the unique thing about micro schools is they are so personal. And a lot of what I talk about, even though my chapter is about marketing, it's about really being authentically yourself and your brand, right? The whole reason for creating these spaces is what everyone else is saying, right? To be inclusive of all of the kids, of all of the ways of learning. And our children spend almost a quarter of their lives with their educational career. And many of us have had wildly different experiences before we came into the educational space. And I think that's the really great thing. You don't have to be something you're not. And I want our book to just empower people to make choices for themselves, right? It is that ability to say, you know what? I can have it all. And it's not going to be perfect and it's not going to be clean, but we can get there, and we can get there as a community together.
Yes. Yes. Brandy and I are nodding our heads. Yes, we totally agree. Okay, so the next question that we have is, what does microschooling mean to you now? But I would say, what does microschooling mean to you overall as a movement? Denise, I'd love to pull you up for this one.
Sure. Microschooling is all about you being the expert on your child after them. I think appreciating the child is their own personal and first best expert, and you get to be their second expert. And then I think for parents especially, it means embracing that and feeling free to remove yourself from an educational system that didn't leave you competent to help with third grade math after 12 years of education, that you know you can take that on. And I think microschooling is about building the education that your child needs at that time. So choosing what works for you in that time, being mature enough in yourself to walk past that when it no longer serves you, and adapting, improvising as you need to. It's a big journey, but it's something that parents are qualified to take on. They have the right to be involved in their child's education, and also the privilege. And I'd like to see more people do that.
Yes. Yes, I could say so much on that. We could talk like a whole, episode just on that alone. Um, Jennifer, I'd love to bring you up and share as well with you, answering about just what does microschooling mean for you, for your kids, for, your school, your building.
So there's a lot of things I could say about this, but I'll just focus on the black hole. So I feel like over time, I've always just jumped into black holes, not knowing if I was going to land on my feet. I didn't know what was going to be in the space when I got there. I'm a female engineer. I didn't know what that was going to feel like until I got there, and I was working 25 years old and working with all my dads. But I loved it once I got there, and had I really not jumped into the black hole expecting something I didn't know what I was expecting, I would have never done it. So microschooling is a lot like that because it's an industry that we are crafting and it's emerging right now. So nobody really knows what it's going to look like until we get in there. And this, I'm really happy that this anthology is going to help with that. But I also want to say that in this world, assessment even looks different. Because I find that in homeschooling and microschooling, assessment is not testing. You can test if you want to, but it doesn't feel the same as in the system, even if you do it. But looking back at the year's end, like we all make our plans at the beginning of the year, right? But when you look back at the end of the year, it feels like every single year we get this mountain of work done that I didn't expect us to do. Because really 12 years is a very long, long time to educate a child. The school just has this slow, methodical process that takes the kids forever to get through. So microschooling really is quite magical.
Yes, I could agree with you on the black hole for sure, because I don't think any of us, and I know almost all of us can say we had no idea what we were stepping into when we decided, which is why I'm so glad that we could get this book together because it really gives not just a bird's eye view, but like a back office view, a behind the scenes look of what it takes, what it's like being on the parent side and on the founder side, being the teacher, the educator, and then wearing all these hats. And I think it's really great for the audience to be able and the reader to be able to see that. And there is a ton of information in this book. I cannot express to you how much information is in this book. And we made it nice and big. We made it nice and big so that way you could take notes in it, you can copy it, you can make however many copies you need. There's wonderful appendix, which we have programming. We've got, ideas about business formation in here. We have launching. We have, if you need to pull your kids out, there's a sample list of how to do curriculum. There's a sample menu there. And then we also have some mission work and frameworks. And then inside of each chapter, there's STEM projects and how to engage with those. And there's marketing. It's just a chock full of information. You're going to want to get your hands on this. And we can't wait for it to come out. It will be coming out in August. We are currently working on the final dates for that. I'm shooting for the beginning of August as much as possible. And I'd love for us to give a few ending notes for our readers about what is it. If a reader takes only one thing from your chapter, what do you hope that is? And I'd love for us to go through everyone. So just be thinking about what that is, and we can make those answers short and sweet. I'm going to start with Brandy.
You can do hard things.
Yes, awesome. Okay, next I have Shadima. Hold on, we're not audio. There you go.
Yes, I would say trust the process, and the process is
Yes.
teacher.
Yes. Okay, Christina.
All about marketing. Simple is better. Authentic is better. Let yourself shine.
Amen to that. Next, we have Denise.
I would say courage isn't the absence of fear, it's deciding that your mission matters more and moving forward.
Yes. Amen to that. Jennifer.
I would say dream big, really, really big, and embrace the AI age. I know that's a scary thing, but micro school kids are going to lead the way into the AI age. That's my prediction.
Yes. Jessica.
I would say that you don't have to settle. The system tells us one thing, and we don't have to settle for that.
Yes, 100%. Caitlin.
That, leaders and founders also have to put themselves first. You can't just save the whole world and all the children before pay yourself and take a nap and all that good stuff. So
Yes,
read more, read to learn more.
exactly. Yes. Next, we have Lauren.
Enough sounds great right about now, Caitlin. I would say that microschooling equals freedom. And as a founder, that doesn't necessarily start with me, and actually may start with my teachers.
Yes. Mary.
Your kid knows what they need in order to be successful, so listen to them and follow their direction.
Yes. Rena.
All right, I would say to build with intention and to give it time, because it takes time for that transformation to occur. And we see the change, we see the transformation already happening across across the United States and everywhere. And if we can do that, then we can make it more like the norm instead of the exception, but definitely give it time.
Yes. And it looks like we had one drop off. Okay, so next we have Tanya.
Learning can occur even when kids are playing and doing interest-based things.
Yes. That is so true. And we have to think about our village that we're building. And that was something that I really didn't know I needed when I started homeschooling, was how much of a community I was missing out on. And that includes the socialization. That includes, yes, some academics, but that includes all these social emotional skills that they have to go through. And when we do this in a community, which microschooling is all about building that community, and Denise was really like, you've got to read her chapter on the mission, because that is how you build that strong bond with community. And so I have one last thing that we're going to ask, one last question. And that is, what's one small action someone can take today to begin thinking differently about education? If you have like one or two words that you can share, we'll go back through the list and make sure we all give time to each other. Okay, first I've got Shadima.
Um, with teaching, think win-win, like a win-win situation, where teachers and students can work collaboratively and not be at odds, so we can
Yes,
focus on what really matters,
yes,
helping them learn and prepare them for the future.
yes, yes. And then we have Brandy.
I think the biggest thing that I want to change about education is when schools stopped being fun. Kids need to play and kids need to have fun, and you need to be laughing and having joyous. And if I could bring one thing back to our public education, it'd be fun. But I'd also want it to bring to all the micro schools, like, have fun, laugh, be joyous. It's going to be okay.
Yes, yes. Chris.
Yeah, I'll say it 1,000 times over and over again. Authenticity. Just be who you are, own it, and wear that superhero cape.
Yes. Denise.
I would say shift from a system-centered system to a learner-centered system.
Yes. That's a whole point of what we're doing here, right? Jennifer.
I would say do one for every student you have, do one tech every year and keep shifting through them so that you explore new horizons and new frontiers, all while you're really doing well and diving deep into important things like math and English.
Yes. We know that AI is coming and we're all using it. It's a part of our everyday life. So they need to start using it and getting familiar with it because by the time they get to, graduation, who knows where it's going to be. Lauren.
I would say to tap into those micro school Facebook groups. You are going to meet your tribe, and we are all here waiting for you.
Yes. Yes, there's a ton of groups. Several of us have our own microschooling groups that you can join. And those are also in our books. There's a bio for every person. You can check out or email us. If you can't find us, reach out to me and I can get you in touch with everyone. Next person we have is Jessica.
I'd say as a parent to just pay attention to your child or children. What do they talk about? What are they curious about? And then ask yourself, does their current education and learning environment support them in those things? And if not, what are you going to do about it?
Yes, we have to start thinking differently. And that's, hey, what is it that they actually want to know? What are they excited about? And I'll go ahead and let Sean know we have this question we're all answering. I'll ask you next. What is one small action someone can take today to begin thinking differently about education?
You ready for me?
Yes.
Okay. I think that you have to deconstruct your previous education.
Yes.
Someone said it earlier. There are so many things that each one of us spent so much time and effort and stress focusing on. We're all achievers here. We all want our children to achieve. And to face the reality that some of those things were not only maybe a waste of time, but in some respects harmful to us is a very difficult thing to face. And I think that's the first step that you have to go through before you can start challenging the notions of what education means, what learning means, and what school is, I guess.
Yes. Yes. It's even interesting too in homeschooling. We talk a lot about deschooling and what that means. And people are just shocked, like, what do you mean I just let my kid take a break? What do you mean that they don't need to take every single semester of school to still graduate on time? What do you mean that we can go to the park and the zoo and the aquarium and still get our science credits and history credits and PE credits? What do you mean? They have no idea. And that is one of our resources in here. We have a resource about how to start homeschooling, and I would say it really applies to microschooling too, but you've got to think about when you're coming out of the traditional school setting and you're coming into a totally different arena, even if you're going from a homeschool setting where you're not with a whole bunch of people and then you're coming into a group setting, you still need to take that time. It is a life shift for these kids to go through that transitional process, and we have to give them time to process it. And a lot of times, even with my own kids, like we went right from the classroom into homeschooling, and there was a lot of pushback. And I so wish I would have known about deschooling. I would have been less stressed. We could have come into our rhythm. There would be more fun. Like Brandy said, don't take fun out of it. This isn't a desk setting where you're just sitting in front of desks and paying to the teacher, like no, we've got to think about the kids here and how to get them involved. And I have a few more here that we haven't asked yet, and that would be Mary.
I think my favorite question is why, right? So always ask why, and always question everything, because we quickly find out that maybe things doesn't have to be the way that they say they are.
Yes, amen to that. Um, Caitlin.
Uh, Similarly to what has been said, just to like kind of the process of all of that is just being able to notice these judgments that you're making and these assumptions that you're making. And those often come up when you feel really frustrated about something. So if you feel like you're stuck, just look inward and say, what thing may I be doing that I don't have to do?
Yes, yes, exactly. Lauren.
So, in listening and thinking about a lot of the responses that we've had from our amazing panel already, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me is the mentioning of play. For me and my micro school, that's actually a major part of what we do. We implement play based learning and project based learning across K through 8. So, really, when we're thinking about micro schooling, we, like I mentioned before, have the freedom to do what it is that we want to do, but also what we need to do, not just for ourselves as founders, but for our teachers, for our parents, and of course, for our students.
Right, right. And so when we're thinking differently, it's really like, okay, we don't have to sit in this desk. They can be playing on the floor and doing a math game, and that still counts. That still counts for math. That is still fun and engaging. Next, we have Rena.
All right. I think it's been said before, but I think there needs to be like this mindset shift that you have to do to get into the, the whole microschooling life. I love it so much. But the other thing I thought of is let the child be your guide. Because if you keep the main thing, which is them, keep the main thing, then it just kind of everything just follows. We're able to adapt, we're able to do things like let them play and do all of the things that everybody's already said. So
Yes.
that's
Yes. Well, and we're not saying there isn't structure. We're not saying there isn't boundaries. We're not saying there isn't like a construct of how we do things, but it doesn't have to feel so rigid for them, and they can be involved in that process. Last but not least, we have Tanya.
For parents, be curious, ask questions, get out and see what's happening in your community. And for teachers and founders, network. Get to know the people in your county, your city, your state, make friends. You can help each other. It's super important because you are able to refer clients to each other. So that's really helpful for your business too.
Yes. Not every kid fits every micro school, and that's why there's such a diversity of different forms, different shapes, different. Some, like myself, aren't even in a classroom, we're outdoors. Some are meeting up and doing field trips, and everything's around that. So it's really neat to see, like what Tanya's saying. Oh, I've got somebody who does exactly what you're needing, or oh, I've got somebody else. And I had a parent message me the other day asking, hey, is this even a thing? Like a tutor coming in with like 5 or 6 kids so my kid could come like a couple days a week. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we do. Of course, there's this like, really? Yes, people just are so unaware. So this is why we are doing this book. And again, we are so thankful to all of our authors that have contributed to this wonderful book. It is a gift to education. You will be able to get your copies very soon. And we have a few things, that we want to make sure that people understand that we're not trying to bash or smash any different way. Like, we understand that there is a diverse way for learning, and that is the whole goal. Like, for example, Jennifer does more AI, I do more nature, Rena does more Montessori, Denise uses Brenda. Like, everybody, like, there's so many different options here, and we're saying that you can go out, like Chris said, be your authentic self. Let your kids be their authentic self, meet them where they're at. And education can be a fun, and the process can be enjoyable. Um, when you take that leap, of course, it's not easy, but as you've seen from so many of our wonderful authors, it is possible, it is needed, it is wanted, and it matters. It matters to these kids coming into this next generation where they have to think differently. Critical thinking needs to happen. We are seeing a decline, and we want to make sure we make that shift. And so this book is letting us do that. I want to thank you all for all of your contributions to this book, all of the talks that we've had, all of your heartfelt stories that have gone into this, all of your hard work that's been night after night, getting this thing off the press as fast as possible. And like I said, we'll be putting links in the bottom for where you can find those. And then please feel free to reach out to these authors, ask them questions. They are here for your resource. They want to be helpful. Like Chris is great with marketing, Jennifer's great with AI. Sean has a program that he can help you with, the Start Your Own Micro School. Denise does as well. Caitlin is great for mindset work. She and I have talked many times. Brandy can help you with your neurodivergent. There's just so many things that we offer that we want to share with you. We are also going to be doing very soon our Educator Impact Incubator, and that is really going to help you as a educator, as a founder, to really do that heart work to figure out what it is, what your mission's all about, why you're doing this, because I will tell you, it does get tough. It does get hard. It does feel like sometimes you're getting dragged through the mud, but it is so worth it. And your kids are why. Like, that is why we're doing this. So I'll be sharing more about that as well. And then please feel free. All these authors have their own episode with me about their chapter and their story. So please feel free. Those links will also be in the description for you to go and listen to their own stories on our individual podcasts. It's been such a pleasure having all of you on. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy homeschooling and microschooling, everyone. We'll see you next time.